Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Wednesday, January 15th. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, today we're going to kind of do a rundown of a lot of the questions of last year and my take, because things change, right? It depends on the year, the cycle, and so forth, right? So, on that note, stay tuned and we'll get right into it. Alrighty, welcome back. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Wednesday, the 14th of January, 2025. So, what are we talking about? What am I talking about when I'm saying I'm approaching things again? It's, you have to be flexible, right? But there's some things that are going to remain consistent. And one of the main things is do I do a mobile service? Do I do a out of my garage nights and weekends? Do I take either buy a building or lease a building, what have you, and do the repairs there? It all depends upon location, location, location. See, the problem with on-site mobile, okay, is good chances are, unless it's just a general service, what you hope it is, you're going to have that customer's machine tore apart in his driveway and garage, what have you, and you're waiting on parts. So you're making numerous trips back and forth, right? And while you're doing that, you're losing out on the other jobs. The other thing is distance of travel. If you're in a highly populated area, it might not be so bad. And nothing above just doing service work probably isn't too bad. Doing it out of your garage or shed or whatever, I'll tell you, you can make some decent side money. Yep. And you can charge, 50, 60 an hour if you've got the skill. And most people bring it to you. And as things slow down, you can grab stuff off street corners that are going for scrap, get it running, and flip it for a few bucks too on the side. But this is for you guys that it doesn't matter if you make something or not for the month, right? You're just looking for a side hustle. Putting in a building, we talked about that yesterday, about doing all the preliminaries, trying to figure out if it's feasible, and then taking all that information, putting it into a business plan if we're going to go to a bank and see if they won't help us. If that makes any sense. Alright, so is there an approach to every small engine repair work done on a unit? Yes. Yes, if you're not doing a compression check first, why not? I see a lot on these forums of people trying everything but compression, and when you mention compression, they tell you it can't be compression. But then they don't say another word to you, so I know they checked the compression and it was bad. You start with compression. Because I can tell you right now, if you have good compression, the coil's firing through the plug, you got good fuel, and your air filter isn't plugged right up tighter than Toby's asshole, it'll run. You may have to do something with the carburetor or something like that, but it will run. You can hit it with some carb cleaner, it'll start right up. Or pour some gas into the unit and it will run. But if you sidestep those 4 rules, as far as I'm concerned, you're just stabbing in the dark, right? No compression or low compression, go to valves. If the valves are correct, stop. Because I can tell you right now, most units today are not worth rebuilding. We used to rebuild a lot of stuff, but people just don't want to spend the money on rebuilding when you can go to Harbor Freight and buy one of their Predator engines with a warranty on it and slap it onto your mower or what have you. The handhelds are throwaways. And you need to be able to see down the pike, alright? And down the pike is saying that your handhelds are going to get eliminated first. Why is that? Because the battery is coming. We're already using it in the shop for the 20 volt DeWalt's, for the impacts, to what have you. Very handy. And with the lithium batteries that they're coming with, I think they're getting even closer to producing something that will actually replace gas for those units. And what do I mean by handheld? I mean weed eaters, chainsaws. You know, your Pro Series is always going to have an engine, right? At least for now. Because I don't see a big enough battery to run one of the big saws that the guys use in the woods. But your homeowner series, everything, even right down to your push mowers, I can see the writing on the wall. Your riders are still out there. They've tried it and it's been a complete flop. They had the Echo, I think, at Track Supply, that had the 2 batteries they put into it. And you might get 10-15 minutes to mow your lawn with that 0 turn. And if you have a yard like mine takes over an hour to do. So it would be a pain in the ass. And it takes my yard a gallon of gas to mow it. So it's not feasible for me to go out and go green unless I was some save the earth type of guy. I'm all like the smell of gas, and I grew up on the gas. Alright, the next one is, what do you charge for parts? Good question. You know, when we were doing a lot of Amazon and eBay in the early days, we went with list price. And list price was almost double what we were paying for that part, right? And if you stayed with watching the videos, you'll know that one of the ways that I increased the size of the business was, instead of taking anything from the business, I was taking that markup of almost 100%, right? And turning it around and ordering 2 instead of just the one that was sold online. Why was I doing that? Well, it's because I figured if one person ordered that, somebody else would want it too. And we had, you know, especially for smalls, we had pull draws everywhere, marked, labeled. But that's how I grew the business, was, you know, reinvesting back in. Now it's a little bit different, alright? Now the OEMs have jumped their prices and there's less margin. The Chinese have flooded the market and there's a lot of margin. But for $10.95 you can buy a carburetor on eBay for a handheld unit, right? Comes with the gaskets, primer ball, what have you. Charge $20. Double your money on it. And then your time you have into it. And why do I say double your money? Because it does take time to go find the parts that you need and then order them. And that's the thing is keeping track of your time. And if you're not keeping track of your time when it comes to doing parts lookups and ordering the correct parts, then you're kind of going backwards, aren't you? So what I do is I just put it into the cost of the part. $10 basically is what I'm looking for doing the parts lookup and ordering it. But 50, 60%, used to be the norm. If you're buying stuff on eBay from China, just double it. Honestly. If the carburetor is around 34, charge $10-15 on top of what the carburetor is that you're buying. But look around and see what others are selling it for on eBay. If it's 34 and you have over here for one of the Chinese selling it for 20, go with the 20 and tack on 15. Now you got 35, which is in line with that 34. If that makes any sense. If you're buying it from Sten's Rotary, I'm telling you right now, you're paying more than what it costs you through the Chinese, but you'll get a better quality control. And then if you're buying through OEMs like Briggs, Kohler, and all that, there's a premium charge on that. I have customers that will not take anything other than OEM parts. And that's the first thing they do is they look at the carburetor, and you could tell the Chinese from the OEMs, even though they're both produced in China, is the OEMs have got like Walbro engraved in it in the model, where the Chinese knockoffs don't have anything. And the thing you have to watch out for is the Chinese knockoffs. They'll say will fit, and it's not even close to the carburetor that you need. So be ready to send it back a couple times till you get the right one. Alright, so the next question. How much inventory should I carry on hand if I'm starting a small engine repair shop? As little as possible. I'm serious. With us, streamline it, okay? You can go with 5W30, fully synthetic, right across the board. Oil filters are the same thing. There's basically 3 different style oil filters. And one is going to fit the Hondas and the Kawasaki's. You got the one that's for the Kohlers, and you can get the 2-stage, single stage. And then you have the 2 styles for the Briggs, which is just a 2-stage and then the small. And now, like with John Deere, they're coming out with a new oil change thing where it's all one unit. And you pop it on and pop it off, and it goes by how many hours are on the unit. So if it comes in and it's under that number of hours, you don't need to do an oil change on it, right? They're changing it up so you're required to go to them to buy the parts, right? They've always been smart like that. So you're not going to get that part, online. Air filters. We may stock 10 different, and even at that, you don't need that many. Carry 3 or 4 of the most common. And I mean, it's nice to have everything on hand, so when the machine shows up, you knock it out, get it out, and you get paid, right? So you're not waiting on things. But if you start tying yourself up with inventory and everything gets changed, and then they're no longer producing that filter, or people aren't willing to put the money into the old units that it used to be, you're kind of looking at paperweights, huh? So my take on the inventory issue is less is more. Your common stuff, yeah, have it on hand. Your plugs, your oil filters, your fuel filters, and then your very basic air filters. Everything else can be ordered. We carry a large assortment of blades, air filters, oil filters, plugs, but we've been in the game long enough so that we know what's selling, right? What's being used. And I even did that with customers that came with their lawnmowers. If somebody ordered a set of blades, I would order in 2 sets. And that way we're not sitting here waiting on lawnmower blades in order to get a unit out, right? And if you look at one of my videos, you're going to find that most often the case, it's a lot cheaper just to go with putting a new set of blades on it than it is to have the shop take off the old blades, sharpen them, put them back on. You know, a lot of customers want their blades sharpened so they can get as much life out of them as possible. But by the time you figure the time for the mechanic to take that blade off, go over, put it on the grinder, you're paying, 55, 60 bucks an hour. You pretty much could have bought that blade, right? I'm just saying. So I'm going to start wrapping things up because I have an appointment this morning at 6:45 to have my first echocardiogram since I left the hospital to see if my heart function hopefully is increased, and maybe by the 20th I can take this vest off. I remain hopeful that that'll happen. But this video kind of covers the general stuff that keeps coming up. And it keeps coming up because new people are coming to the industry and looking to try to get into it and what's required. We already talked about a basic set of tools, the willingness to learn, tearing stuff apart and putting it back together correctly. It can be a lot of fun. It could be a great side hustle, nights and weekends, or for a retiree. If you're doing it nights and weekends and as a retiree, you can do it whenever you want, right? Because that's extra money. But if you're relying on that income, whether it be a mobile or an on-site or at a shop, it's a whole different dynamic because you need that income coming in. And you need to know what income is going out as well as what's coming in. And we haven't even touched on employees. When's the right time to hire them? Well, we can do that on another video. So on that note, you guys have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Again, thanks so much for letting me be part of your family in this channel. It's been a great ride. I'm going to continue riding it as long as I can.